All right, we're here a couple days before Grand Prix Washington, D.C. How are you guys feeling about it?
Oh, not bad.
Pretty excited.
Yeah, so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. If you didn't see Monday's video, it wasn't really a versus video. We're doing something really weird this week. We're going to be building 3 sealed decks for Team Sealed in preparation for Grand Prix DC this weekend, hosted by Star City Games. Now, Team Sealed is a pretty cool format. You know, okay, you get like 12 packs, and you have to build 3 decks out of them. And normally it's kind of hard because there's only 5 colors, and normally in Limited you want to be a 2-color deck. It's a little bit different this time now that we have colorless cards, so we might actually be able to have 6 colors, kind of. And just try to build, you know, 2 2-color decks and then a monocolor deck with some colorless splash. So today we're going to be using this nifty old box right here. This thing. Inside is everything you're going to get at the tournament, Grand Prix Washington, D.C. It's going to have deck list. We're going to go over all this stuff when we get started. We're going to be building 3 decks out of all this stuff. The same thing they did on Monday. We're going to be using a duplicate sealed pool. We're going to have about an hour to build all 3 decks just like you would. And this is basically just trying to give you guys an idea of what you're in for if you've never played a sealed deck tournament, team sealed deck tournament before. So, you guys want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's jam it open. What we got? So, start off with, this is going to be the exact same pool that they had on Monday, and we're going to be doing a video on Friday talking about all the comparisons between decks. So we got this release form, we got these deck lists,
Put those over there for now.
basic land pile, ooh, free month of premium. Who wants it? You probably need it. 3 Stoneforge Mystics, 1 promo for each player, but you can also just steal your friend's, you know.
That's not very nice.
That's not very nice. You get a voucher, a playmat voucher. You get all 3 playmats. These look like just 3 different cards from from Oath of the Gate Watch, but you get to use them, you know, all together, which is kind of cool. And I think they say player A, player B, player C on them, maybe. Maybe they don't.
Shotgun Ondi War Cleric.
Yeah, you can have Ondi War Cleric. I'll take the Vampire.
Yeah, so you go to the registration stage and pick these up whenever you can.
Yeah, whenever you can. You know, you can do that during right after deck building, and then you get your 3 playmats, and then you can use them if you like, or you can bring your own. All right, so
Talk about these wristbands for player A, B, and C.
yep. So each player can choose a wristband. These are basically just color coded. I guess white is player A, red is player C, and blue is player B. And then basically you'll always know who you play against if you keep these on, which is kind of cool.
Hopefully people actually keep them on.
Yeah, I hope they do too. If they don't, it's going to be awkward. All right, so I guess we'll just start with the seal pool. Comes with all the tokens that came in the 12 booster packs, all the full art basic lands that came in the booster packs, including a foil island. That's nice. A couple wastes. So we're going to start sorting these by color and by type, I suppose. Now, it is kind of weird to get a foil basic land in your pool because you do have to register that. So make sure you do that.
Looks like they all come sorted by color and alphabetically.
Yeah, and I think sorted by set as well. So we don't have to do too much sorting, and we can just start actually getting into the deck building process right now.
Yeah, I guess we'll just do what we would do at the tournament.
Verify the pool first.
I don't think we actually need to verify the pool first. I mean, I guess we could, just to make sure that there are no errors. Yeah. We don't actually have to do that in this video, though.
Oh, sure.
But guys, do make sure that you compare all the cards that are in your pool to what's on the sheets in front of you. And the cool thing about this sheet that you get here is that for this tournament specifically, there are no cards listed on the sheet that are not in your pool. And it will also have the numbers by each one. You can see on this piece of paper, we have like 1 comparative analysis, 1 containment membrane, and we'll have 3 deck lists. So we get to you know, build your deck pretty easily on the sheet. And then you just write down whether you're seat A, B, or C. And then you write your name, DCI number, and all that good stuff. Nothing on the back. Cool. All right, so let's get to building. Sort by colors. Try to pull out the good cards, the medium cards, the bad cards.
I think gold cards are a pretty good place to start.
Yeah, let's take a peek. Collector Mage leads you to wanting a blue-white deck, as do any multicolor combinations.
Yeah. Now, normally the multicolor cards are going to be some of your better ones in the pool. But in Oath of the Gatewatch, some of your colorless cards might actually end up being some of the better ones because they are a little more difficult to cast than other things.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You probably want to take a look at the actual colorless requirements that are available in the pool, and then how many colorless enablers we have.
All right. So do you guys want to just go by one thing at a time? Like we'll do colorless first.
I think that's the best way to just get a general idea of the pool first.
Yeah, I like multicolor and colorless. Getting a look at them first.
Okay. All right. So what do we got?
All right. So as Tom talked about, Reflector Mage, definitely a powerful card. Drawn as Emissary can push you into a black-white life gain deck. That's definitely a staple of that archetype. Similarly, Flare Drone, Red-Black Devoid, very aggressive strategy. Mm-hmm. That's powerful. And then Draga Auxiliary is a little bit more of a, well, it's literally a support card, but
literally and figuratively.
Doesn't necessarily push you into an archetype like Flare Drone or Drawn as Emissary might, but it's definitely a powerful card, even something you can splash. Gives decks a nice mana sink.
Yeah, Draw's Emissary, I think, is a very strong card just because there's so many cards from Battle for Zendikar that trigger on life gain.
Right.
And it's just an efficient creature. You know, it has the stats of a Windrake, which is already reasonable for limited, but also has this sweet ability. So
really makes it more like a 3/3.
Yeah. All right. What do we got artifact-wise? Take a look. And colorless-wise, I suppose.
2 Captain's Claws, which are 2 of our rares from our
pool.
Look
at me. You're the captain now. Sorry.
Okay. So there are some Oath of the Gatewatch cards that have equipment matter sub-themes, so it's probably something we want to take a look at since we have 2 Captain's Claws. Also just a fairly powerful card. But that's 2 of our rares. We have Chitinous Cloak and a Bone Saw to complement those. And then as far as actual colorless matters cards, we have 2 Kozilek's Pathfinders, which is powerful top end for either a mid-range deck or an aggressive deck. And then a Spatial Contortion's removal spell.
So what I want to do next is see what direction white will take us. Cards like Stoneforge Acolyte work really well with these equipments, but white could also take us to the ally theme, and Drawn as Emissary would be really good, or if it combos with blue-white, then that could be good. That is one of our rares, a General Tezi. Goes with allies, I suppose. Picking out the
Isolation Zone, one of the best commons in Oath of the Gatewatch.
Yeah, it's not often that you get a 4-mana sorcery speed removal spell in a format, and it is great. Mm-hmm. But the removal is not all that efficient in Oath of the Gatewatch Limited.
It's not great.
And Isolation Zone just ends up becoming one of the best.
Yep. Also, it's weird that it's almost one of the best because Isolation Zone can hit opposing Isolation Zones, which is a strange thing that comes up more than you would think.
All right, so basically we have generic good white cards, Isolation Zone, Getting Reproach, and Wall of Surgeons. I'll go in anything. This will go in the equipment theme, which will work really well with Captain's Claws, and these are just allies that could go in anything, but would also work very well with Drawn as Emissary and the life game theme.
Yep. With all of these cards, actually, the Stoneforge Acolytes and such, I think if we're going to focus on a sub-theme of equipment, and we have all these cheap cards like the Stoneforge Acolyte and the Bone Saw, it's possible we want to pair this with a bunch of really good Surge cards. Mm-hmm. Especially the, I forget the name, but it's the blue flyer.
Jwar Isle Avenger.
Jwar Isle Avenger. Yeah. So let's take a look at the blue and see how maybe there's some good blue Surge stuff that we could pair with this deck.
Also, red Surge stuff we can take a look at too. The 3/2 Menace Goblin after we take a look at those.
All right, so the first thing I noticed, we have 2 copies of Blinding Drone. Now, I may be alone in this, but I love Blinding Drone. It's one of my favorite cards in the format, even though it's a little stressful to try to find a lot of good colorless sources to turn it on. But if we're going to be playing a deck that has blue and white in it, and we get to play all these wastes, all these unknown shores, we have a bunch of colorless lands, actually. Mirror Pool, Crumbling Vestige, and Holdout Settlement, and even a Seer's Lantern.
These guys,
we would get a lot of these creatures that have either activate abilities from it. So that's the first thing I noticed with this. I'm not sure if it goes in this card goes in the same deck with this stuff. We want to be a little more aggressive, I think, when we have these. And this card, I think, is good in either an aggressive or a control strategy. But I think generally colorless is just leaning you a little more towards the slower end because you want the heavy stuff, the Kozilek's Pathfinders. Spatial Contortion's particularly good in a deck like this. So let's keep looking to see if we have any good Surge cards, we have comparative analysis. Containment membranes, okay. Clutch of Currents is very good. Yeah, it's modern playable, Tom?
Sometimes. You can awaken an Ink Moth Nexus.
Yeah. Group of the Royal, I do like that card a lot. Ooh, a Guardian of Tazim. And we do have a Dwarral Avenger. So we actually could maybe build two different blue-based decks. One that is Surge-oriented with white, as well as maybe just a blue splash colorless. We have 2 Oath of Jace that can help trigger stuff. Rush of Ice, not a huge fan of that card, but it's okay. And then
I think it's actually gotten better.
Yeah, so we actually have, our blue seems like pretty deep here.
Yep.
We have a Negate, a Brilliant Spectrum. This card, I'm just going to set this off to the side. I'm not a huge fan of Obtrusive Interference, which we have 3 of also, but in the right deck it could be okay as well. So, Umar Entangler, basically just a 2-drop that doesn't have a lot of stuff going on. Royal Mage's Trick, which I like a lot.
Yep.
How do you guys feel about that card?
I think it's always something I'm actively looking to sideboard, and I'm not unhappy to have it in my main deck.
Yep. All right, and then last we have a Sweet Boy. So where do you guys want to go from here? Because we have a lot of Surge-type stuff maybe we could pair with the white, as well as a lot of colorless stuff that we could pair with maybe another color, or just be blue and colorless.
So to me, I kind of generically view blue-black as the waste matter deck. Okay. So like the Blinding Drones, and we have tons of colorless sources. I want to look at our black.
Look at cards like this. Yeah, I think white will be powerful enough to pair with anything. Now I do want to take full advantage of the Blinding Drones.
All right, cool. So do we want to look at black next, just to kind of get an idea?
Yep.
All right. We'll let Michael start on that. Go ahead.
So Essence Drone, or excuse me, Depleter, is one of the absolute best cards as far as a payoff with the wastes and various color sources. Corpse Turn. I like this card a fair amount. Maybe people wouldn't agree with my assessment. Demon's Grasp is just like a fine removal spell. Bone Splinters and Carrier Thrall are kind of a nice little package of sometimes you can integrate this hard removal spell into your kind of more controlling deck. Usually kind of associate this with black-green. Gray Birthing, similar, it can also enable processing. Got some more filler here.
Pull this way a little bit.
Okay. Colostra and Nightwatch can go into the black-white deck we talked about previously. Kozilek Shrieker is another payoff for wastes, and Malakir Soothsayer is a really powerful card. Premium uncommon, 5-mana 4/4, pairs with your allies, can allow you to draw cards, really grind out your opponents. Malakir Familiar, good card. Ruinous Path, a solid rare to have in our pool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and here we have some kind of devoid aggressive cards in Renana Room. 2 Sky Scours and a Slaughter Drone. A Swarm Surge could potentially help out with that. Natural Endurance. How do you guys feel about this card?
I love that card. I think that it is a very powerful 1-mana combat trick for black. And what was the card that was a lot like that in a recent limited set?
Boon of Erebos.
Yeah, Boon of Erebos was like almost the exact same thing, except it also dealt you 2 damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think this is a pretty good upgrade for that. So I'm a huge fan of that card. I think it just allows a lot of your smaller guys to just rumble in early in the game and trade up for like a 1/4 creature or something like that.
Yep.
And it only costs 1 mana, so it's just very efficient. So.
It's also devoid, which might be a little unintuitive since it's a spell, but it can trigger stuff like Sky Scour, which is pretty important. Mm-hmm. So to me, this black looks a little oddly split. We have like some really powerful cards like Malakir Soothsayer. We have a Vampire Envoy, which is a really awesome card in the Life Gain Matters ally deck.
For sure.
So I want to see what we have for the Life Game Matters allied deck, I guess, which would be for the payoff cards here.
Yep. Soothsayers.
Serene Steward is the biggest one. Yeah, Soothsayer is good. But I'm seeing what can trigger off Life Gain, how many Life Gains we actually have. I think we only have 3. Vampire Envoy is the most important one. Come back, I guess. I think we only have 3 Life Gain cards, and one would have to be Dazzling Reflection, which kind of ain't great. Essence Depleter, Vampire Envoy, and our black-white Drana's Emissary is
right here.
The things are really tied together. I think we got to figure out if that is enough to want to play black-white.
Definitely leaning towards no just initially, but the good thing is some of those cards are just generically powerful, so they can fit into whatever decks.
How is our power toughness ratio in this deck? Are we heavier on power or toughness? Because if we're heavier on toughness, I think that could make like Captain's Claws a lot better, and then we could maybe just have a black-white equipment-based deck.
I think generally our cards are a little bit more aggressively slanted, like the Sky Scourers and the Unnatural Endurances. But we do have like a Night Watch, an Arcana Assassin, a Vampire Envoy, and then the 2 5-mana 4/4s.
It also, I guess, matters a bit if we have a bunch of creatures with evasion in black, or I guess black and white. So how are we looking on evasion?
Let's see.
We have 2 of the...
The basic guy's kind of small here.
Yeah.
Not much in the room of flyers and...
3 flyers here. Sky Scour I wouldn't really count since you want it to be the Devoid deck. So I don't really want to incorporate that into our black-white deck.
The flyers seem small.
Although it can trigger off these artifacts, which is kind of worth keeping in mind. The black-white deck definitely doesn't just like scream out to me as particularly good.
Yeah, so what does a black-blue deck look like?
Fairly controlling.
Take all these Devoid elements and go ahead and put them over there.
That's not impossible to play black-white as well. They look like different cards for different decks.
I also just automatically kind of associate processing with blue-black. I don't think we actually got any processing cards.
I don't think so either. Not, at least not more than like 1 or 2. Nothing popped out at me earlier.
The Rune Processor is something I really want to have in decks like that.
Yeah, we did not get that. So, I guess we should actually just go ahead and take a look at green and red for a minute as well.
Yeah, I should probably get rid
so
of that.
let's clean this up a little bit, and then once we have a better idea, we can start actually building the decks once we get a good look at everything. And
here's just kind of the generic black cards. Tom, you want to take a look at green real quick?
Okay, let's just look at the power stuff. Canopy Gorger and Brood Hunter Worm are just cards for filler, as is Bonds of Mortality. You seem to like Elemental Uprising, but it's not a high priority.
Yep.
Embodiment Insight is a good reason to play green. This Harvester Troll is kind of a fillery dude too. Infused Elements, great card, and a deck that can make, I guess it's cool in 2-color decks, but really won't be 3 or 4. Offshoot kind of filler, lead by example. Some people like this, we can keep it up.
I think it's pretty good.
Lightspring Druid would lead to a 3-color deck too, as these Loam Larvas, which are fine sometimes. I recommend being on the draw if you play a bunch of these cards. Marasa Ranger, okay. Natural Connection, we'll think about if we're playing a ton of colors. Neckhat Spider usually always makes it. This is Judgment, one of the best reasons to play green. It's like a Terminate that supports your cards. Horn Reef Invoker, if you make him ball out mana, it's pretty good. I really like Pulse Marasa, but you probably don't need a bunch of them. Reclaiming Vines, not wonderful. Saddleback, one of the best creatures.
Saddleback Lagak.
Usually a first pick. You want to supplement that with early drops. Even Loam Larva, if it's kind of weak, it will get better if you have Lagax.
Ooh, I like the 2 Scion Summoners plus 2 Saddlebacks.
Scion Summoner, great. Seath Wild's okay, snapping all in good in most decks. If you can hit your land drop, Stalking Drone goes with any color stuff. Sometimes just Scion Summoner is good enough since it is a 2-drop, and 2-drops are good.
Yeah, for those who haven't played a ton of this limited format, I think 2-drops are very important to hit. And when you're building Team Sealed, you need to focus a lot on the 2-drop slot and figure out if like your deck actually has enough 2-drops to basically either play defense or play offense in the early game.
To me, green doesn't look great. This is Judgment, Embodiment, Insider, our best card. These are okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that we could build a colorless deck featuring the green for the Stalking Drone and the Scion Summoners, but I'm not sure if that is enough reason to do so.
I think I actually disagree. I think our green looks quite good. We have some like aggressive elements with the Scion Summoners, aggressive 2-drops into Saddleback Lagax, and then 2 premium uncommons. But we also could like build a grindy like Loam Larva as our base into Lightspring Druid plus maybe some Converge stuff. We haven't taken a big look at those kind of potential cards, and I think green-black is pretty good in general. We didn't get any of the Null Bailiffs, I believe the card is called, the double raised dead green-black uncommon.
Oh yeah, that card is very, very good, especially in a format like this where everybody is going to have like a pretty good deck in Team Sealed. And, you know, if you have something that is just like a 3-for-1 on turn 6, it is just great.
I also think this card, Harvester Troll, might be pretty good in the Loam Larva deck. Might be something to consider. It's not a great card in general, though.
Yeah, you could also sack a Scion. It kind of curves up into that.
Generally speaking, a 4/5 is just a great rate in this format in particular.
Yeah, especially with Scions. Like, they are important-ish, you know, but just having cards that can make 1/1 that you can sacrifice, I think is great. So, all right, that's the green. Let's go ahead and take a look at the red, and then we'll try to...
Over here for reference.
Yeah, we'll try to pair some more in just a moment.
Oh, I didn't even know we had a hissing card.
Yep. Right. We actually have a blue-white duel, a black-red duel, and a blue-black duel. A couple of utility lands here, so... All right. So I guess we'll just sort by converted mana cost and type. Boulder Salvo is just great.
Premium removal.
Barrage Tyrant is pretty good. I like that card a lot. I'm not sure if the 3 toughness is, you know, I mean, it makes it like a little bit worse because it's hard to attack with, but it can just end the game, you know. It's one of those cards that if you cast it on 5 and you get to untap with it, sometimes you can just kill your opponent the next turn. So
I think it is generally overrated, but it's definitely going to make your deck every time.
Yep. All right, so we actually have a good, decent amount of removal. Devouring Flame, Boulder Salvo, these cards are pretty sweet.
Is that the haste one?
Yeah, colorless creatures you control have haste. Expedite, this could go in the Surge deck. We have a couple of Goblin Free Runners, actually, so we might be able to do something cool with those. A deck that has a lot of 2-drop creatures on turn 4, if you can go 2-drop into Free Runner, that is a pretty sweet start. A Kozilek's Return, that's nice. We have a Kazul's Toll Collector, which is pretty good with all the equipment that we have.
A couple of stuff. I think we have a Eldrazi Devastator.
I believe that's it. We don't have something like a Birthing Hulk or any colored Eldrazi.
Yeah.
Embodiment of Fury is pretty nice. Molten Nursery, I'm not a huge fan of, but it's just one of those cards that over time, you know, you just get to plink your opponents to death, or you can sometimes just kill some of their Scions or stuff like that. So we'll keep it out there, but not a huge fan. Undo Champion, card's not bad. It's another ally, which is important to note. You always want to make sure you know which allies you have access to. Processor Assault, sure. So that is something we do have to process. And Spark Mage Gambit.
I like that card a lot more than most people.
I like it as well.
Oh yeah, that card's awesome. Okay, so you know, we actually have no real 2-drop creatures in red. So I would really like to pair red with a color that has a lot of 2-drops in it. So maybe not green, because I think green-black is going to be a decent color combination. We want to get use out of Hissing Quagmire. You know, we have... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, our green strikes me as pretty deep. I kind of want to go take a look at the red-white aggressive deck, because most of our good red cards are aggressive, and the Menace Goblin in particular really strikes me as something we want to
This would
include.
work very well with Bonesaw as well.
Yep.
And as well as the 1-drops that search for the equipment as well. Okay, does anybody have any qualms with just looking at red-white right now?
I guess right quick, if I paired red with green, I just play a few cards. I think you can splash quite a few colors with this deck. Loam Larva and, I guess, where's he at? Lightspring Druid and stuff. I just play the premium red cards. Some like Boulder Salvo, maybe Barrage Iron, Embodiment of Fury, Devouring Flames.
Yeah, so Kozilek's Return is not going to go in a deck, I don't think, that has a lot of like Goblin Free Runners and stuff.
Right.
So I could see a deck with a lot of Loam Larvas.
Larvas, Netcaster Spider.
With these 2 cards as our big payoffs.
So that is a possibility.
Okay, sure. All right, so what do y'all want to do?
I want to take a look at the red-white aggressive deck.
All right, so let's... why don't you start sorting out the white cards that you want to play in this deck? And you have to keep the time limit in mind. Right now we are running pretty heavy for it not having built any decks yet. So yeah, so we still have 40 minutes left. So this is going to be a long process in general. And And we're probably going to use most of it just to build the decks and not worry about filling out the actual deck sheet. But you have to keep in mind that when you are doing this at home, well, when you're at the tournament, rather, that you need to make sure that you have all of your main deck cards and all of your sideboard cards listed on the deck sheet.
Yep.
But since we're talking, we're giving a little bit of leeway.
How do you guys feel about Iona's Blessing? Chain of creatures +2/+2 has vigilance and can block an additional creature.
It's okay. I'm not a huge fan of auras, but the removal in this format is not great. So you're not going to get punished too often, I don't think, with auras. But it's hard. It's actually pretty hard to attack because there are a lot of cards that are removal, like pretty good removal based on whether the creature is attacking or not.
I like it on certain creatures. I like it on core Sky Master because it has first strike. I don't like it on a card like Patrol. Because I already have vigilance. Feel like you're losing value there.
All right. So here's some equipments.
This feels like a pretty liberal take on our weight. Probably not interested in playing both our 1/3 flyers, but it is an ally, so maybe we can do something with that. We got these 2 Captain's Claws, something we definitely want to play. Definitely want to play the Bone Saw. Chitness Cloak, maybe. You definitely don't want to have just your deck be tons of equipment and shoulder-to-shoulders, because then you can get these awkward draws where you don't have a lot of creatures and you're not really doing much.
All right. Well, here's a bunch of allies. If you want to take a look at these and see if you want those in your deck. I do like Tom's idea of playing the Embodiment of Fury, the Kozilek's Return, the Boulder Salvo, and the Barrage Tyrant in like a green-red colorless deck.
I think the green deck will want Barrage Tyrant. Boulder Salvo can go in either deck. Might actually be better.
Yeah,
in
it's
the red
actually
light.
no. This does have Surge, so this is probably way better in that deck.
This is probably better in this deck, and Devour Flames can go in either deck.
Do you think this is better in this deck, or this is better in the
It'd
green?
be better with green.
Okay. So we can separate that there.
Is that the landfall one? Yeah.
Since we already have the 2 Stoneforge Acolytes, I don't think it's imperative that we have any sort of cheap card just to trigger Surge, so we're going to cut these Lava Step Raiders. I don't think they're that bad, especially with Surge, but yeah, we're going to trim those off to the side. I don't know how you feel about Expedite or Outnumber, but we have those over here. I know Outnumber is definitely going to go in this deck.
Yeah, with 2 Captain's Claws, I definitely think Outnumber's going to be very good.
Spark Mage's Gambit is pretty sweet, especially if we're just trying to build up a board really fast. I don't know if you want to put that in that deck. Devouring Flames also seems pretty good in this deck since we don't need our early, or we don't really have like a huge amount of top end.
I do want to note that to me, it just strikes. I mean, I haven't thought about it too much so far, obviously, but I think Wall of Resurgence, Reflector Mage, Draga Auxiliary could be a nice little package in a green deck.
Yeah, and when we have all
Bring
of
it all
these
over.
Loam Larvas, we can splash pretty easily, like a lot of different colors. So.
This will be the deck that plays all our, I guess, powerful cards that don't fit anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we do have Molten Nursery, which is not. We only have basically equipment in this deck for it to do anything, so we're gonna leave it out of that deck. And there is a potential to splash it in a colorless heavy deck, but it doesn't do anything immediately, which is kind of rough. But
Also want to be looking to how we're going to incorporate all the lands in our pool into our decks. For this like red-white aggro deck, I don't think we want any. Definitely don't want any colorless sources just for the sake of having colorless sources. But like Crumbling Vestige, Unknown Shores, Holdout Settlement, probably not where you want to be.
Looming Spire, I think, very good in the deck, even though it comes into play tapped in an aggro deck. Just being able to pump a guy for a turn to get it through, and it gets first strike is pretty solid. Makes it very hard to block something like Goblin Freerunner.
Mm-hmm. I think when most people look at cards like that, they just kind of focus on the fact that it's +1, +1, but in reality, when you can get an additional attack in, it's more like 3 to 5 damage.
Yeah.
So I think this looks like a fairly cohesive deck to me. Obviously, we would have to make some cuts and figure out exactly what we want our creature base to be. Definitely have way too many spells right now. We would want to like cut it down to just our pivotal equipment, our best removal spells, and like maybe a shoulder to shoulder or 2. But this looks like a reasonable place to take kind of our. It's able to leverage like our more mediocre red cards the best, I think.
All right. Trying to sort these for Tom. So I'm not mistaken. Loam Larva can get waste, correct?
Correct.
So
Yes.
could be that this, 3 to 5 color green deck.
Yeah, the Pathfinder, Spatial Contortions.
Yeah. So definitely the Lantern for a slower green deck, just being able to ramp out a guy or start scrying, I think is pretty good.
Do we have something for the black-blue kind of color stuff to make the blinding drones happen? I don't think I need colors in this deck.
Yeah, we definitely have enough sources to support
in,
a blinding drone deck, which I think is probably the way that we want to utilize our blue cards.
All right. How many blue cards do we have that can actually exile stuff on a semi-regular basis? Otherwise, I'm just going to toss this processor.
I think it might be literally 0.
Yeah, Processor Assault got a lot worse with Oath of Gatewatch. There are a lot fewer ingest cards, and you have to actually cast spells like Oblivion Strike or something to get things moved in the game.
Okay, so I guess I can start putting together a blue-black colorless style deck.
It's also possible we want to think about blue-black splashing white for Drana's Emissary and the Reflector Mage. And maybe the Wall Resurgence too. So that could be another way to kind of utilize some of our gold cards.
Sure. Yeah, the Reflector Mage doesn't seem like it goes great in Tom's deck. He's super heavy on 3 drops. So, and, he would much rather have cards that have base green with 1 splash, or just like pretty good top end cards like Barrage Tyrant or Embodiment of Fury, plus that.
We also have this blue-white land, and a lot of the colorless sources are multicolored lands, like Holdout Settlement.
Sure.
Actually, need to read Mirror Pool.
Sure. You can copy a creature or a spell you cast or control.
Yep, instant sorcery or creature. That's a pretty powerful effect.
Yeah, the card is very good. I think this probably should go in Tom's deck, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
and maybe
agree.
like 1 waste as well, or something like that. So he can tutor up a waste if he has Mirror Pool, and then he can use it to copy like a Barrage Tyrant or
even just a Lagak.
Yeah,
Instant speed Lagak's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, so guess we'll start sorting this blue-black deck. I'm not sold on these Warden of Geometries. Unless I have like a lot of big top end, I'm probably going to end up cutting those. But I do like the idea of a blue-black splash-white deck over here.
I think these cards are kind of in between these 2 archetypes, depending on what needs it more.
You should go with this, though.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But Kozilek's Pathfinder might be...
Yeah, I'm not worried about the Pathfinder.
Just want to make sure we didn't... I think Seek the Wilds might be decent in a deck like that.
Yeah, huge fan of Essence Depleter. This card is definitely a huge payoff for any sort of colorless land-based deck.
Yeah, if you can just stall the game out, that card will just win the game by its own, which is pretty awesome for a 3-drop.
Yep. Clutch, I think, is premium. These flyers are all pretty sweet. Grip of the Royal, unless we have... I actually think Grip of the Royal and cards of this nature are much better in green-based decks, just because tapping a creature is usually better if you're rumbling in with guys with generally higher power than... But flyers, already have evasion, and when you're using Grip of the Royal defensively, it's not nearly as powerful.
Yeah, it's not clear to me right now whether our blue-black deck's actually going to be a little bit more aggressive or more controlling, to be honest. But we have these kinds of options.
I'm like, this could be a deck that could use a Bone Splinter. I kind of want to play black anyway because of Hissing Quagmire and Infused Elements.
We also kind of have these black allies that are kind of stuck. We don't have a good place to put them right now.
Yeah. I don't know. How are we feeling about this red-white deck? Do we have way too much going on? I feel like the white... I mean, the white obviously pairs well with the red. Just the cheap surge creatures with the equipment, evasion with the equipment.
We're basically trying to decide if it's worth using our 2 Goblin Freerunners and Baldur Salva. These are kind of the payoff cards for building a deck like this.
Yeah.
The rest of it is more filler-ish. Certainly, all our white allies would go really well with our black top end over here. That being said, it's not really going to resemble a traditional black-white ally life gain deck like you normally see.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's unclear right now, but we definitely want to be able to utilize this, sorry, I forget the name, Malakir Soothsayer.
Yeah, that card is pretty great. I would very much like to make sure that we can get those in the deck. So I don't think that this card can go in a deck that has a bunch of colorless stuff. That is colorless oriented, except maybe just the blinding drones. Like I think blinding drone out of all these cards is the payoff for like a colorless theme. We don't really, the Sky Scours are okay, but I think we want to be way more of a control deck. And if we're going to do that, then I think just like Depleter and Blinding Drone are going to be the real payoffs, and then all this other stuff can kind of just get out of here.
You want to see how black-white looks with all this stuff?
Yeah, I think we should take a look at it.
Maybe also build a red-blue thing.
And that won't really interfere with what Todd's doing.
Oh, you just flashing blue over there?
Oh. I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing yet. That's the problem. There's a reasonable number of good cards to try to utilize.
All these cards go in red-blue. I think you'll have the colorless cards that go with the Blinding Drone. Still has a clutch. A lot of these black cards are kind of weak except for Essence Clear, which would go in this deck. I guess you just want to even be black, so... You get that and that. I have a couple of color sources so you can get your Essence Splitter on. Not sure which.
Yeah, that kind of strikes me. I think we're going in a few too many directions if we're trying to incorporate this stuff into this deck.
Well, I think maybe a no equipment version of this black-white deck might be pretty good.
Okay.
I was thinking, maybe I'm not sure.
Let's take a look at it.
This package seems important. They're all allies, too. Maybe not Bonesaw. Bonesaw is one of the weakest ones.
Yeah, I think Bonesaw really just goes into Surge decks or decks with just a ton of flyers.
You're actually kind of toughness high, too, so Captain's Claws can make, like, your Aeronauts, your Patrols, even your... where'd the Vampire go? Vampire Envoy. Seems like you're too high on toughness. Just give them another power with the Captain's Claws would be good. And it seems like you can attack with them, and that creature will survive. I don't know if your ally token will, but...
if we have a bunch of colorless stuff matters, we do have a lot of lands over here, so keep that in mind. We have a lot of dual lands, actually, to splash blue in that deck if we want to. For Reflector Mage.
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly like this stuff should be in that deck. They're just...
Well, this isn't really a deck, that's the problem.
Sure.
So...
We got, like, this Ruinous Path, we have this Rising Miasma, which is good with Blinding Drones, the Depleter... maybe we could get rid of the Sky Scours and just try to build the most controlling deck we possibly can.
Okay. Maybe I'll just work over here on like a blue-black control deck. The problem is, I think that something like the Malakir Soothsayer on the top end would be what I would want to close with, and I would just be taking way too much stuff away from you.
Let's see. Is there any way we can just get some allies into that deck without kind of spreading ourselves too thin?
We have this Entangler, who's technically an ally, and then no other blue allies, really.
Okay. So we'd have to play, Vampire Envoy is definitely not bad in a control deck, even though we're not really able to use the life gain too well. We could even play, Holdout Settlement is probably something we want to be doing anyways. That's a nice little synergy. It's just a good defensive flyer. Mm-hmm. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. Another 2/3, which maybe we can get into our deck for Rising Miasma, but probably not going to be able to trigger it. Not sure where we want to put this Malakir Familiar, but it could definitely go into that deck too.
All right, what do you think, Tom? Get us some help here. Running thin.
Do you like black-white? I think we have enough going for it. I want to play this package somewhere for sure.
It definitely is the way that our shoulder-to-shoulders are going to be very good cards.
I think this is the last deck we should build because it can just take elements from whatever pieces we have left. Yeah, it depends. If you want any of this stuff, y'all get it, then I'll...
I think this black-white deck probably doesn't want that Bone Splitters with Captain's Claws.
Okay.
Bonesaw? Or Bone Splinter, yeah.
Bone Splinters?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I'm off black. I think we're just not going to play this Hissing Miasma anywhere.
All right.
If we need space, if we're not going to play this Reflector Mage, it can go in my deck too. Getting a blue mana wouldn't be too tough. I'll take some pieces of this, I don't know what.
Maybe we should look at the blue-red deck, since we're kind of floundering a little bit.
Okay. So, let's scoot all these.
Really good red cards right quick.
Yep. So, this deck isn't going to have a ton of colorless creatures, so I don't think Barrage Tyrant... Yeah, because you can only sacrifice colorless creatures with that, so... So we got these. Scoop this up. Boulder Salvo. This guy's great. Embodiment of Fury. Outnumbered doesn't feel like it should go in this deck, but maybe it's just too strong in general to not play.
Well, it's a nice Surge Enabler for the 3/2 Menace Goblin.
Sure. If we have enough allies, the Undo Champion, it's actually just a solid body. So, never super unhappy to play it.
I'd play Outnumber in this deck. It's very light on spells and high on creatures, specifically Science Summoners and stuff.
Alright, there you go. Expedite. This card doesn't feel like it really goes in this deck, except to just kill some small creatures, but
depends how aggressive we can build it.
I guess we do have a lot of ground pounders in this one right now.
Falter effects are generally underrated, I think.
Yep. Grip seems great in this deck. Rush of Ice, still not sure if I like this card or not. Tightening Coils is okay, but since we have a lot of ground-based creatures, it's not phenomenal. We have the option to play some slips to go with the Expedite to turn on all the Surge stuff. What's your thought on Containment Membrane?
I think it is pretty bad.
Okay.
I actually think I disagree with the Rush of Ice. It's probably at its best in this like blue-red deck. Either that or a blue-green deck, as you talked about before.
Okay, sure. Oath of Jace, okay, not okay.
It's probably better than Comparative Analysis, but it's not great.
I don't like Comparative Analysis much at all.
So we got a bunch of cards that are okay, I guess.
Well, definitely a deck like this might be the best way to leverage kind of our tempo stuff, like Clutch of Currents, Rush of Ice, Slip, the Grip of the Royal, and it also gives us 3 Surge creatures. So I think this deck might be a good way to kind of use all of our mediocre cards, so to speak. And I think that's pretty important in Team Sealed in general.
Okay, sure. I feel like I'm a little short on creatures.
Let's see.
We only have 12.
I
I
mean,
kind of want like 1 or 2 more, but
definitely our Blinding Drones plus aggressive elements is a bit awkward.
we could take some of the lands here. We already need colorless lands, right?
I got these if you like
Yeah,
them.
I think Pathfinder would actually be pretty good in this deck.
Okay, but we could also play Reflector Mage in this deck, which I think would be great.
For sure, I agree.
Okay, so we could do that. We get these Unknown Shores, which are not awesome, but I think you just got to do what you got to do.
We need a curve fill. I think this is probably better than the, what is it, 3/2 on this? Yeah.
Yeah, if we're not going to play any equipment in this deck, that's for sure. Higher toughness creatures are generally better and limited.
We have no way to use this processor assault, correct?
I don't think so. I mean, we could play the Force Spike. Play a lot of Force Spikes.
Force Spike actually doesn't exile, even though the...
oh, it doesn't?
Yeah,
Ooh.
the Convolute does. Void Shatter, I believe it's called.
Spell Shrivel.
All right, well,
Spell Shrivel, yeah.
we currently
Whichever you're
have
doing.
3 ways to splash basically for free. The Unknown Shores has a significant cost to it. But, let's see. So, I think we have too many spells at this point, so we probably need to, like, cut some Oath of Jace, or... how do you guys feel about Gravity Negator alongside stuff like Undo Champion, or...
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a nice flyer, and then when the bonus is online, it's really, really powerful.
Yep. Okie dokie. So, we have, let's see, 5, 8, 16 creatures. That leaves us somewhere around 7 non-creature spells to play. We could also maybe cut 1 creature. I think we have 15 now, so...
Also wouldn't be opposed to playing this card in that deck.
16. Pathfinder. Kind of just want to give it to Tom. I want him to just have a bunch of ways to just hit for a lot of damage, but maybe it's not good enough. I think Tom definitely wants the waste, or at least 1 waste for the Loam Larva.
Maybe. I only currently have 1 card to even use it for. There's really not much colors going on.
We might want to give you the Mirror Pool, though. Which so you would probably want, like...
I have to play a waste then.
0 to 1 Unknown Shores, and then a waste.
He probably wants to...
It's just hard to activate.
Maybe that's too significant of a cost.
I think I'm going to play 3 or 4 colors. If I play the Reflector Mage, I don't think I can play colorless as well. Although I do think Reflector Mage would be easier to cast in this deck than that deck.
I agree, but I think Reflector Mage will be more powerful in that deck. I don't know which one is more important at this stage.
I think the card's just powerful in general, so I don't think we really need to say it's going to be way better in one deck versus another. And as long as he gets to the late game, I think he's going to be able to take control of it. So
Probably good in here with the Kozilek Return. It's
I'll
a
just
creature
give that to you. That way I don't have to worry too much about the lands.
Creature interacts, so outnumber and all this stuff's fine.
Certainly if you're just two colors, then these unknown shores look a little bit more playable.
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. So if I only have two. So you can actually... I do need a reasonable number of colorless lands. Maybe we can actually just play wastes in our deck, or one of the wastes, and you can have the other one.
I don't think I need any wastes.
Now that these decks are starting to
cut
flesh
the
out,
free?
I'm going to start building the black-white deck.
Okay.
How I want to.
Sure.
So we get some lands, make it easier to see.
We can in a minute. Just kind of leave it there, I suppose, for right now. All right. So
22, 23.
Do you want this Crumbling Vestige? Do you think that would help you cast your stuff a bit? Or?
Not necessarily. This thing's better in your deck. This deck's going to be like a ton of force and just a couple of basics here and there. My cards are so powerful and don't really mind drawing any of these cards late. Like, I don't have any off-color cards that I have to have early. Like, maybe Kozilek Return and Wall of Resurgence are the best ones, but basically I can draw any of these at any point in time that my mana gets fixed.
All right. How do you guys feel about cutting Reality Hemorrhage? Not a huge fan of this card.
I think that card is not very good.
Okay.
I think it's overrated, but usually necessary.
I think it's probably better than Spark Mage's Gambit in your main deck, but
I don't really want to play either. I don't have a lot of space. I'm kind of slipping right now.
I'm also not sure whether you want to play 2 Slips and an Expedite. I think you probably want 2 of the 3.
I just want the one Expedite. Although we're getting to the point where we don't have a lot of ways to actually turn on the free runner.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know, how's the Bonesaw in your deck? I think the Bonesaw might be great in my deck.
I definitely do not feel like I necessarily need this card, so.
Okay.
How married are you guys to the Stoneforge Acolyte Captain's Claws package?
I love it.
I mean, it is an ally. I think just bodies are pretty important in the format, and Captain's Claws seems pretty solid. Otherwise, I mean, if you think your deck has enough to do in general, then maybe you don't want it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I may want the outnumber, though. That's the one thing I'm looking at over here. Being able to play outnumber into a Surge card on like turn 3 or 4 seems okay.
You also just might want this Barrage Tyrant, and then we can just get red mana. Well, I guess the Kozilek's Return, I keep forgetting about that card.
I can play just Kozilek Return, that's fine.
Okay.
So like some big ground pounders like Barrage Tyrant and Cinder Hellion would lean me towards wanting the Slips again. I also think just an important part of this blue-red deck is like the second or third tempo play is just exponentially better than the first one. So like your sweepaways, your grips, your rushes, your clutches, they just get better and better as your opponent's kind of put into the stranglehold.
All right, so I'm at a point where I need to start cutting some stuff. I'm pretty heavy right now, so 5, 10, 14, we have 16, 17, 18. I need to make about 4 cuts here, so anybody wants to help me with that, that'd be great.
4 cuts, you said?
Yeah. I mean, it's possible we don't want the colorless element, like the blinding drones and the negators, and maybe we just want... Oh, actually, if we do that, we don't really have a whole lot of 2-drop creatures if we cut those, so that's bad.
I think colorless has to go somewhere.
I agree. I think this Gravity Negator is very good in this deck, too.
Yeah, now that we have these bigger 5-drops, that's definitely true.
Also, Spatial Contortion needs to go somewhere, and I think it probably fits best in that deck.
Okay, well, we need to cut 4 cards.
That's 7.
If you got good cards you could give me, that'd be great.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I mean, I'm at a loss. I don't really know what I'm doing over here.
Probably get some number of your removal spells.
No, sure. Which ones? So I already have these 2 early blue ones and the sweep away and the grip. So I could maybe even just not play any of the red removal and just have all these like tapper things and stuff like that.
You should definitely play grip.
I think Devour in Flames might go better in Tom's deck. You have like a bunch of these 4s and 5s, and you kind of need to hit them.
I needed to cut some stuff.
I think I should play Outnumber. I think Boulder Shot was probably good in your deck, better in your deck.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Devour Flames is, I don't know, go either. I have a lot of 3s. Those is not really a 3.
It is worth noting if we want to like put these in Todd's deck, then Devour
I
gets
could
a little bit
actually
better.
use Clutch of Currents better in this deck than your deck, even though there's a 1 cost for Surge.
I don't think I like that. I think that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Taking
all advice. You guys are way better at this limited format than me, so yeah. I mean, you could probably use this way better than me, so I'll give you that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Devour too.
Okay, sure. That makes sense.
You're a pair.
We need 3 cuts now?
I only need 1, I think. So 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, I need 1 cut. I'm good. And then build the mana base.
I don't think I want to cut another creature. 15's a little light. I do like all the spells in that deck, so maybe that's fine.
I mean, is there an argument to just play 16 lands since we have 2 slip through spaces?
Generally, yes, but I think they're with 4. Or well, I guess Dwar Isle Avenger doesn't really count as a 5-drop, but
sure.
3 other 5-drops. Plus,
Can
we have
maybe
like
just
these
cut-
mana sinks.
I don't mind cutting like 1 negator from this deck because it's kind of bad when you're behind.
Sure. Okay.
All right, I'm cool with this. I want the Looming Spires for sure. I need enough colorless lands to make sure that we can actually use our colorless stuff. So I kind of want to do maybe Holdout Settlement might be better in your deck than my deck.
I mean, I'll play it. I don't think I need it.
Sure. Do you need
probably actually fine with Loam Larva.
Oh, that's fair.
I think Holdout Settlement's actually going to be better in Tom's deck.
Do you think Mirror Pool would be better in Tom's deck also? Most of my guys seem pretty small.
I can't really
Although
activate
being able to copy...
Yeah, I don't think he's interested in supporting it.
Okay. I could do something like this and maybe play these wastes. Let's see. I feel like this is way too many basics.
Do a quick scan of the pool and make sure we're not missing anything powerful we just forgot about.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just the colorless black stuff that we're kind of just ignoring.
Yeah, I do feel pretty bad about not playing Essence Depleter in this pool, but it just happens sometimes.
Yeah. Let's see. So, is there a way that I could just cut the Blinding Drones and the Gravity Indicator, and then... I don't know. I guess...
I think they're fine.
Yeah, I know they're fine. I want to make sure you get to play your best cards, you know?
Over here?
Yeah.
Well, so the big issue with this deck for me right now is it has a lot of power, but it's kind of having an identity crisis of whether you want to like slant it aggressively or defensively.
That's land.
Like Malkir Soothsayer,
lands.
the Zulaport Chain Mage, even like this Ruinous Path and all these removal spells kind of make me want to play more of a controlling game. But we also have, again, this Stoneforge Acolyte, Captain's Claws, shoulder-to-shoulder kind of package right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I mean, shoulder draws a card, right? So
It does.
I think that card is just generically good control or aggro. But
Sure.
if we have all these high toughness, 2-drop creatures, the 1/3 flyers, and the moving into the Vampire Envoy, like shoulder seems fine at like any point in the game, really.
Yeah,
I think you're a little
agree
heavy
with
on
that.
5s. I kind of just want to cut any 5.
Yeah, the Night Watch is probably the weakest, so that's definitely cuttable. I definitely want to keep the Demon's Grasp, even though it's just kind of a mediocre removal spell. It's important just to play removal spells in sealed deck. So yeah, for me, it's just I kind of have an issue with this Acolyte Captain's Claws package, but I like the rest of this deck.
Tom, you want to look through this power right here and see if there's any card that you think you might want to splash?
Me? No, I think I got all the splashable ones.
I can also give you at least one of these Unknown Shores. I don't think I need 6 colorless sources. I think I can definitely cut an Unknown Shores.
Well, you would want to cut the... Oh, I guess if you're giving it to Tom, you'd rather him have Unknown Shores, sure. But, like, we don't have to play all the wastes in our pool.
Yep. Do you think you might want an Unknown Shores?
I could take it or leave it. I have enough green sources and a little bit of everything.
if you want to play that, then maybe that's a consideration.
Not really. I fell off the Barrage Tyrant. I don't think I need this.
Okay.
I'm still also fine giving you the Barrage Tyrant for whatever that's
I don't need it. I have enough playables. Let's just figure out my mana.
I actually think maybe just giving Tom the Barrage Tyrant and giving you the Pathfinder makes a lot of sense, because you don't really have anything to toss with the Barrage Tyrant. Got like Blinding Drones and a Navigator.
Got 2 things too.
Right, but it's still just like
Maybe
a
need it.
finisher.
I actually think that's correct. Like I actually have a lot of ways to just make this unblockable for the turn, or to
The
make
card's
combat
very
really
powerful
awkward.
if you can activate it a bunch.
Yeah. Do you think it's better than Cinder Hellion? Like, should I just cut the Cinder Hellion for another one?
No.
Just so I can have more payoff?
I like having a more cohesive curve.
Sure. Okay. All right, so I guess we need to make sure we finish out
I think
your
we just
deck.
need to finish this deck.
Okay, how much time we got left? About 8 minutes? 10 minutes? Okay. So we have about 10 minutes to finish up.
I guess we would spend the rest of the time doing the deck sheets. I'm okay with this. We have to make our own sideboard or something.
We do.
Yeah, we would just pile basically all the weirdo color cards in each person's sideboard, and then...
Yeah, I think at least the way we have it right now would be pretty easy. We would just kind of divvy up the colors.
Yeah, I would probably want, like, we have a negate, and Tom would want a
Probably
bunch
keep
of
all the red cards.
Yeah.
I don't need any of this stuff. One of us will get the Spark Mage Gambit.
Definitely worth talking about that maybe in this like multicolored green deck, Tom would get the Tightening Coils. He could maybe bring that in against like aggressive flying
Yeah,
decks.
we can split that up.
Yeah, this is 26 cards, and
Deck's actually weak against flyers, so that's a good idea. I almost have this Vines of the Recluse. Just because I'm pretty soft to flyers, I'll have the Wall Resurgence and these Spiders. No actual flyers of my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is 26. Again, the Acolyte Captain's Claws are a little weird, but we have like the strong ally payoff at the top end. Not sure how you guys would want to do that.
If we have enough like 2-drop allies, like is the
It is an ally.
Yeah, I think we have enough allies where we might not actually even want this package. So I think I would
love it.
Maybe Tom would get this deck.
Yeah, we'd give Tom the Stoneforge Acolyte deck. So. Okay.
Well, how would you want to finish building this deck? It's 26 cards.
Are these in it?
No, not right now.
Ooh.
Because you have like this nice little inevitability game with Soothsayer, Chain Mage, Spawnbinder Mage.
You need that Demon's Grasp, and you got these two, and some stuff's happening.
Not necessarily, but I feel more comfortable just playing the generic mediocre removal spell.
What about this Assassin?
Yeah, it's probably pretty difficult to trigger. See cutting
That or the Patrol, I have my eyes on. Don't want cutting into 2-drops since you're kind of low, even though this is kind of an earlier thing. You block signs and stuff, so it's half a 2-drop really. And yeah, of course, Soldier you want early drops for that.
You could always just put a Captain's Clause on this and try to trade.
As far as cuts go, Chain Mage is okay. In my experience, it's hard to get it in combat successfully.
I think this deck might be interested in kind of turtling up.
I mean, personally, I kind of want to just cut the Captain's Claws and the Acolytes and just play like a carrier to roll.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how I would build this deck, but...
Yeah.
Y'all crazy.
No. I mean, I really like Stoneforge Acolyte if you have at least like 4 or 5 equipment to do stuff with it, you know? Or maybe not 5, but 4 I think is definitely the sweet spot, just to try to hit every time you get to activate it. And then...
After Envoy, the turn you play it.
Yeah, I mean, that is a sweet little synergy. I don't mind it. I would really like to have the 2-drop one that gains 2 life, but unfortunately we didn't get any of those. I don't know. I think Captain's Clause is good when you can leverage the either the aggression from the token or do something with the body like Bone Splinters or what have you, or something like that. So
Captain's Claw is more of a 3 or 4-drop. And I think we're high on drops, and I'd be getting off this Demon's Grasp if you like it.
I'd be getting off the Captain's Clause before I got off that. All right, executive decision. Cut the Captain's Clause. Cut this guy, put in the character roll. We don't have time.
Yeah.
Oh no, deck's unplayable.
Yeah, these decks do not seem great. I'm okay with this pool. This pool was not the strongest, but it wasn't bad.
I don't know. I'd probably finish out the deck with something like this. I'd probably try to find another creature, since we're suddenly a little creature light.
I don't think I want to play the Wastes. think I have a little too much on the color sources here, so...
Should we get to filling out decks?
Actually, are there any...
Yeah, we're not going to fill out decks on camera.
Are there any just like...
We did waste a lot of time just like talking about stuff that we wouldn't normally talk about.
They don't want to watch us? All right.
They don't want to watch us write down
yeah,
things for 15 minutes or whatever?
It's exciting television.
All right, so this is 17 for me, so... yeah, I guess we can... Let's just talk about the decks, the overview for the decks. So, basically, let's just rate them on power and stuff and trickiness and all that stuff.
Yeah, so we're probably like, what, a card or two off of our completed decks at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we did waste a bit of time just chatting about nothing, so we would have a little more time in the actual deck building process, but we do also have to fill this out within the 60 minutes.
So you just want to go through all the decks?
Yep, okay, start with Tom's deck. We haven't really talked about that too much, just 4-color green.
Yeah, it's basically a 4-color green deck. 10 green sources plus a holdout settlement, which I can't use if I don't have a green creature in play. So it's basically 10 green sources. Just 1 blue island along with meandering river and holdout settlement. Loam larvas and Lightspring Druid should be enough for the 1 reflector mage. We didn't have a good spot for it otherwise, and this is kind of the deck that our stray good cards go into. Yeah, basically a base green deck. After that's kind of half red, half white, a little bit. Don't really have a super need to get them all out early, like Embodiment Fury, Outnumber, Devouring Flames, Kozilek Returns can be good early. I've gone low on 2 toughness creatures, like I'm not playing, say, Snapping Gnarlid and Oran Reef Invoker, because I am using Kozilek's Return to kind of sweep up the early board. Loam Larva lives through it, a lot of my other creatures live through it, except for this Lightspring Druid, whatever. Silent Summer should be good enough, along with Saddle Black Legak as a curve thing. Barrage Chime, it seems okay. With the huge Eldrazi's, they're there just because of Kozilek's Return. Might get flooded anyway, and they're good with the Barrage Tyrant. Just have a couple good spells. Mystic Judgment, Fusing Elements. Think the deck is a little weak against flyers. Only have Wall Resurgence, Nestcaster Spider. So Vines of the Recluse as a consideration, but hopefully I can just outpower them on the ground before I get flown over.
Yep. My deck is, I think... It's a little split here. Like I'm a little bit of a tempo deck, a little bit of an ally deck since we got these allies, but more so we just have creatures with efficient bodies and a lot of ways to try to push them through early on. The Blinding Drones, we have 4 color sources right now. We have the potential to play 2 wastes if we really want to, but with Unknown Shores, we're already stretching our colored sources a little bit. Are just putting a lot of strain on them, so I don't want to do that too much. We have a lot of cheap cards that can enable Surge, and we do have just the 3 Surge creatures with Avenger and the 2 free runners, and they're okay. If we're ever able to play Draw Avenger on 3 with like a Bonesaw, like that's just nuts. Yeah, like it's really hard to lose from that point unless your opponent kills the Avenger on the spot. We have a decent amount of removal slash tricky stuff with Spatial Contortion, Salvo, and then Rushwise and Clutch of Currents are both tempo-based removal spells that can awaken a land and start getting in some more damage. Grip of the Royal, Sweep Away, these are also just more tempo-based cards. Basically, a little bit more expensive than Clutch and Rush, but do similar things. And draw a card in the process with Royal, or put a creature on top if your opponent's attacking with it. The creatures in my deck are a little weak, I think, compared to something like a green deck or a black-white deck like Michael's. But overall, I think this deck, I would probably grade it at like a B. Maybe.
I keep this as a notable sideboard card.
Yeah.
A lot of ways to activate it. Good.
Yeah.
Very good sometimes. Very bad sometimes.
Yeah, it's possible we want the second Pathfinder over a Cinder Hellion, and if we do that, we might end up wanting to play like 18 lands and 1 or 2 of the wastes. But right now, I think this is pretty decent. So,
yeah, so this white-black deck over here, I've kind of been waffling on the last couple decisions about maybe if we would decide that we want to play the last waste or 2 in the pool and like this Essence Depleter and this Warden Geometries, because Essence Depleter is a really powerful life gain trigger with like Serene Steward, and it offsets like the Soothsayer. But those small little decisions aside, this is kind of this white-black allies deck. We've moved away from the Stoneforge Acolytes and the Captain's Claws, and I think the way the games would play out is you would kind of turtle up behind these Makindi Aeronauts and Vampire Envoy, Malkir Familiar, Makindi Patrol, and just try to get to a late-game position where your cards like Malakir Soothsayer and General Tazri and Zulaport Chain Mage and even Spawnbinder Mage could take over the game. It's complemented by a couple removal spells, Ruinous Path, Isolation Zone, Demon's Grasp, Gideon's Reproach. Tom might not like the way that this deck is constructed as it is right now, but I think it at least has a decent game plan. It's certainly not particularly powerful. I think that you're going to win most of your games by kind of just overwhelming them with just raw cards through the Soothsayer. I think it's kind of the backbone of this particular strategy. But it's fine. It has some pretty good cards, and I'd probably try to fill it out with some tricks like Unnatural Endurance, Mighty Leap. So hopefully we didn't screw up too much with the no Acolytes, Captain's Clause. But
I'm after seeing the pool, I'm very, very curious to see how Jerry, Brad, and Ross all built their decks, because I don't know if they would have gotten to the Loam Larva deck, and it would have been interesting to try to figure out.
I think there's a real chance we're gonna, after this next video, we're gonna feel like we screwed up.
Oh sure, yeah. Jerry's a genius, so I'm sure that he probably built all 3 decks. All right, well, I guess all that's left to do for us guys is to fill out the deck sheets. We're not really going to be playing any games this week with the decks since it's a duplicate card pool. But Friday, what we're going to be doing is just talking about all 6 decks, comparing our 3 decks versus the other guys' 3 decks, and seeing what cards got left out, what strategies may have gone under each of our radars, and really just talking about, potential mistakes that we maybe made in deck building or vice versa. So, yeah, I guess is that everything? Cool. Well, this was an experiment of sorts. We've never really done anything like this. We do some sealed versus videos from time to time whenever we have a big Grand Prix coming up. But usually we just have a sealed deck. We build it and we play some games or whatever. And this was kind of fun for us because we are actually going to be teaming at Grand Prix DC, and so this was a little bit of practice for us. And luckily we didn't yell at each other a bunch. I was assuming
that's a good sign.
Yeah, I was assuming that Major was just going to call me stupid a bunch, but
I'm really nice.
Luckily I didn't. Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, that's going to be all for us today. Make sure to tune in Friday for the roundtable discussion with all 6 of us. It might be a little cluttered. Might be a little...
A lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, too many cooks. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the Versus Series on StarCityGames.com. This was a sealed deck building exercise for the Team Sealed Grand Prix in Washington, D.C. This weekend, make sure to tune into that on SCG Live. Are we doing that? No SCG Live. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's going to be all for us. I don't know. Bye. Thanks for watching, guys.
Take it easy.
See you soon.